Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Okay, can you guys hear? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi Anas. Okay, just let me know in the comments if sound's working. Hopefully it should be working, inshallah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, Yusuf. So, hope everyone's well, hope everyone's enjoying themselves on this nice, rainy, cold night. Okay, so let's check out the questions you guys have put. So like I said before, guys, if you want to ask questions, you can ask questions in the comments, or you can ask questions in the Curious Cat. Either way, inshallah, I'm going to be answering the Curious Cat ones first, and then I'll be answering the other ones. curiouscat.me/82. Right, that's the one. Okay, so right, so from what I can see, you guys can hear me, alhamdulillah. Alright, so let's start with the questions then. Right, let's start then. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Okay, so let's just zoom down, see where questions start. Okay, so last week I think there were some questions left which I couldn't answer in the end because of time, so I'm going to try to answer them now. Okay. Ya Allah. Okay, so I think let's start first. So first of all, I'm going to answer questions on the Curious Cat first of all, then I'm going to answer your questions, inshallah ta'ala. So let's start then. Okay, so first question. Is having fish as pets at home cruel as they are not free to swim versus if they were in their natural habitat? Okay, so this seems to be a good question that someone's asked. So first of all, this question is with regards to pets. So keeping pets at home, these kind of things. So a fish normally obviously lives in the river or lives in the sea. And so if you restrict it inside of a fish tank, is it considered to be wrong? So in reality, look, if you have an animal like a fish or anything like that, then as long as you are not causing it any sort of apparent stress, then you can keep it. Yeah, so for example a cat, or if you have a need to keep a dog, birds, etc. These things are permissible. In the days of Sahaba, they had pets as well. There's a narration of a little child who used to have a pet, a bird, and he used to tie a string to its foot, and used to kind of like keep it, and then it died. So yes, fish can be kept. Now you see, the thing is, obviously, as humans, we kind of compare everything to ourselves. So we would never like a human to be locked in a room all day. So we superimpose our own experiences onto animals, and we think that animals must be feeling the same thing as well. That's not always true. Yeah, so animals, the way animals are kept, animals are treated. Humans have kept horses, humans have kept other animals, donkeys and goats and etc., sheep. So as long as there's no apparent stress that's being caused to the animal, and I don't think fish really are stressed in the you regularly clean out the fish tank, give them food regularly, and I don't think they're really stressed about living in the tank. Obviously a human would be stressed. So to me, it doesn't seem to be a dhulm, it doesn't seem to be oppression or cruelty being shown to the fish, unless the fish is showing obvious signs of stress. If it is, then it would be advisable to put the fish into its natural habitat or buy a bigger tank or something. Okay, next. Is there an ayat that refers to noise, high heels, regarding women and their adornments? So there's an ayat in the Quran which refers to adornments of women. In other words, what kind of adornment can women show? So Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ, women should not show other people, show other men basically, their adornments, إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا, except those adornments which are apparent. So those adornments that are apparent, there's a difference of opinion of exactly what that refers to. So some say that it refers to, for instance, like showing the designs of the clothing, so wearing clothing that has designs on there. Or for example, like if a woman goes out and wind blows, it's naturally going to show the shape of certain limbs of her body. Or for example, the face and having certain light makeup on, like the mascara, kuhul, in the eyes, surma in the eyes, and bangles and these kind of things. So it's just basic kind of stuff. And as for the heels, there's nothing in the Quran that says women cannot wear high heels. But the Quran does mention advice to the wives of the Prophet ﷺ and says that لا يضربن بأرجلهن ليعلمن ما يخفين من زينتهن. ليعلم ما يخفين من زينتهن. That the women should not stamp their feet on the ground in such a way to deliberately make other people know what they've got on underneath. Right. So this was a kind of like they used to have this jewelry that that sometimes anklets that women wear that have these bells on them that make a noise. And so in them days, women would deliberately, to cause attraction, they would deliberately make noise of those with their feet to attract other people. That was something which Allah advised against, that women should not do this. But for high heels themselves, no, there's no specific ayah regarding it. And it's just a general ruling that anyone who is deliberately trying to cause attention to themselves, to attract other people, to seduce other people, or in a lustful manner, in a seductive manner, then that's wrong. Okay, should Juma khutbah be in Arabic or in English? Right, so should Juma khutbah be in Arabic or in English? Now the Juma khutbah, the Arabic khutbah that takes place, the speech in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it's always been in Arabic. Yeah, and that's because it's the local language. So the Hanafis have differed. Early Hanafis have differed about this. Does it have to be in Arabic or can it be in another language? So Abu Hanifa rahimullah's opinion was that yes, you're allowed to do it in a different language. And Sahibain said no, it has to be done in Arabic, or something of that effect. So this is a different issue. Many of the Hanafis have said, like Mufti Shafi, Mufti Taqi Usmani's father's written a book on it as well, or a small little kind of like essay on it, about how important it is for the Juma khutbah to be in Arabic. And other Hanafis have said that no, it's allowed. And then you have various opinions in between. Some of them say, so the argument is basically, look, the whole point of the khutbah is you're giving a talk and you're informing the public about important things they need to know. So once a week, Muslims get together. You're never going to have this gathering again. So it's happens once a week. The Imam should inform the people of important things that the public should know. So if there's any events that took place in society, they should be aware of this. So that's why they say it needs to be in a language that the public can understand. And if they don't understand Arabic, then it doesn't make sense why you're giving them a talk. That's their argument. And the other argument against it is that, look, the talk that was done in the time of the Prophet was done in Arabic. And just like that, Salat is in Arabic. So if Salat is kept in Arabic, then Juma khutbah is akin to Salat. because some of the scholars have said that the Juma khutbah is actually in place of 2 rakats of salat, etc. So you have these two opinions. Both opinions are valid opinions, and it's both based on ijtihad. None is more correct than the other. Yeah. So the one that believes that it has to be done in Arabic, they see that their argument is strong, and the other one see that their argument is strong. But we can't say that one is right, one is wrong. They both have their strong, good points, and both have weak points as well. So he says, there's no Juma bayan. Are they missing the point of the khutbah here? Look, my local literally has a few Arabic khutbahs that are rotated every couple of weeks, and this is more or less continuous audience. So that's why some scholars have a short little piece of nasiha advice before the khutbah in the local language. The people, the masjid should cater for the public as well. So if you've got like someone who's not coming for 5 times salat and is only coming for the Juma, it's your opportunity to kind of reach out to them. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, how extreme do you have to go with istibra? So istibra is going to the toilet basically. So all you have to do is you just do it a few times. You dry your private parts a few times. As long as you can't see anything on there, then just carry on. Yeah, just pull up your trousers and just walk out. So you don't have to kind of go extreme and keep checking all the time. No, that's haraj, that is, this hardship, that is, and people will become extremely stressed in that. Okay, why does it seem that the tahara rules are so extreme, but in the olden times they had a lack of water compared to us? How did they get by? Okay, so I don't understand how they're extreme. Like, in what way are they extreme? Like I mentioned, if you think about it, look, all you have to do is go toilet. Once you've gone toilet, you dry yourself, that's it. Just get up, you go, you wash your limbs, wash your face, wash your arms, wipe your head, wash your feet, you pray salat. I can't see how that's extreme. So I'm not sure how extreme is understood here. And the Quran says that if you can't find water, if you can't use water, you just do tayammum. Simple as that. Okay. Is one-way bet halal? Say one-way bet is halal. Yeah, so for instance, like if there's two friends and let's say they're watching a football match and one of them says, look, if my team wins, I'll treat you. And as long as the other person doesn't say that, but if my team wins, I'll treat you. Right, so then that's a two-way bet. So a two-way bet's not allowed. One-way bet is allowed. Yeah, because one-way bet is just a gift. It's less like a conditional gift. You're like saying to someone, I'm going to gift you a pen if it rains. And if it doesn't rain, I won't gift you. It's just like that. Okay, if you are a guy and see a female colleague waiting for the bus and you have a car, should you offer a lift to her? This will mean you will be alone in the car with her. So this kind of issue would go down to understanding of seclusion. First of all, number one, the issue here would be seclusion with the opposite gender is something which is disliked in Islam, especially if they're both young and attractive, and it can cause feelings between each other. So it's something which should be avoided, unless what I would say is if another person can be in the car with them. Yeah, and in these kind of things, it should be something which is avoided. And you don't know when shaitan would come and shaitan could encourage. If it's like a one-off thing, like a very one-off thing, and it's not just a regular thing, maybe, possibly, but otherwise a person should avoid these kind of things because it's a work colleague, it's not just a random person, and it can possibly lead to other things as well. So if it's a regular thing, then no. Okay, can women pick and choose which ghair mahrams they do parda of, i.e. can they say they won't do parda of certain ghair mahram family members and do parda from others? So covering up in front of non-mahrams, the whole idea is that you want there to be this kind of pure intentions in people's hearts. Yeah, you don't want it to lead to something which is wrong. So let's say you have 1,000 people, 1,000 men and women, and they keep on meeting each other, and they're not very particular about covering up the important parts of the body which they have to cover up in front of others. What can this lead to? Then it may lead to illicit relationships. It may lead to feelings for each other. It may lead to things which later on becomes problematic for the society. So this is why it's the Quran has laid down limits of interaction with one another. So you can interact with each other as long as there's limits. So you can't pick and choose who you kind of reveal your body to and you don't reveal your body to. The idea is submission to Allah is the most important thing. So this is why covering up, just like women should need to cover up, men need to cover up as well. So it's not that men can reveal parts of their body that they're not supposed to show other people to who they want. Okay, and the other thing is about this issue of the covering up. Sometimes in certain situations it becomes difficult for women to cover up. So for example, like if there's a woman and she's married to a man and she's living in the in-laws house, then obviously covering up fully in front of other family members in that house might be more difficult than covering up, let's say, in front of a neighbor or in front of a random guy outside. Because in the house, every day you're going to have to eat breakfast, you're going to have to eat food, you're going to have to go past them. Yeah, so it's all, you look at the situation as well. Okay, when a masbook joins, should he say takbir and thana, or does one only say takbir when he stands up after the imam finishes? Does he say takbir, thana, ta'awuz and tasmiyah? Yeah, so masbook is a person who has missed one rakat. So if you've missed one rakat or more of salat from the imam, you're called a masbook, and you come late to the congregation. So what do? So you join the imam from wherever you've started with him, and then after he gives salam, you get up and then you start your salat from the beginning. So according to Hanafis, you're going to read thana, you're going to read ta'awud, bismillah, you're going to read fatiha, surah, etc. Yeah, you're going to read all of that. Okay, can bazurgs, I think it's bazurgs, know things that aren't apparent in front of them, i.e. know if someone is doing something in another location? So if the bazurg, basically, can someone know, let's say, something that's happening, guys in the UK, and they say there's someone living in Australia. Can someone know what a person is doing in Australia? Possibly. I mean, if they've got a camera system linked up to their house and they're spying on them, then yeah, why not? He'll find out what they're up to. But being able to know things without using their senses, without using any of their senses, then this is something which is not possible. Yeah, this is something that's not possible unless they're being told it. So for instance, like if they see a dream about something someone's doing, or for instance, like if they're told it by someone else, or maybe even if a jinn was to convey the message to them, then that's possible. Yeah, but without any means of any sort at all, that any means, then no, that's not possible, impossible. Okay, if you have a cold, is it okay to hold tissues in your hand and take tissues out of your pocket and put it back in? Does it matter if someone thinks you are doing amal kathir? So if a person has to clean their nose in salat, then they're allowed to put their hands in their pocket, or if they've got no pockets, they can hold it in their hand. Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. Amal kathir would be something which is not needed in salat. So if you need to clean your nose in salat, that's not amal kathir. If you don't need to clean your nose in salat and you're holding things and you're touching your face repeatedly, that will be counted as amal kathir. Yeah, so the rule for amal kathir is, well, there's different meanings according to the Hanafis, but the one I think is the more practical is the one where they say that if it's for the correction of your salat, in other words, if it's for you to be able to continue your salat without being affected, then it's fine. For instance, like they give the example of if a snake comes to you in salat and you have to kill the snake, you can kill the snake and you can continue your salat. So having a tissue, wiping your nose, etc. is possible. On what lengths do you have husn al-dhan? If you see a clear sin, should you still have husn al-dhan and make up an excuse? So if you see a categorical sin, so if you see a sin which is mukhtalaf fihi, meaning that there's difference of opinion about whether this is a sin or not, then you should always try to make excuses of that person. If you see a person committing a sin, you should still in your mind think to yourself, look, you know what, maybe he's doing it because maybe she's doing it because they don't know the ruling. Yeah, maybe someone's drinking alcohol, they don't know the ruling of alcohol, etc. But if someone is clearly knows the rule and they are clearly going against it, then in that case, that is something where you just take it as is. Yeah, so if there's no real excuse for them, if they're living in, let's say, a Muslim country, and they're brought up in a Muslim family, and they clearly know alcohol's haram, they're still drinking alcohol, and you see them, then you can't do husn al-dhan in that, really. So husn al-dhan, I would say, would be like you don't do husn al-dhan. You try to do husn al-dhan as much as possible. Yeah, as much as possible. But husn al-dhan meaning having good assumptions about someone. So having good assumptions about someone should be done as much as possible, unless it's something which there is no possible excuse for. Yeah, and like I said, living in the West, sometimes many people are unaware of certain situations. Sometimes you don't even know someone might be committing a particular act because they're going through problems in life, because they're going through some mental issues. Yeah. So you got to be very careful about this. And at the same time, we don't want to become haram police. Every time just seeing someone do something or say something, straight away we believe that it's our duty to correct them. Yeah. You don't have to. Can a monobrow be removed for men and women? Yes, monobrows can be removed. Is it either or book of deeds in your right hand and Jannah without hisab? Can you ask for both in dua, or is this wrong? Like when you're asking for dua, ask for as many good things as you can. Like for example, if you say, "Oh Allah, grant me Jannah," or you can ask as well, "Oh Allah, be pleased with me. Oh Allah, let me not be questioned on the Day of Judgment. Oh Allah, let me leave this dunya with the kalima la ilaha illallah. Oh Allah, let me enter Jannah on the Day of Judgment without going Jahannam." So these kind of things you can ask, is fine. And especially when du'as have been reported from the Prophet ﷺ, you're allowed to ask those, even though by asking one du'a, right, like the other du'a is also included in that. You can still ask all of them. So for example, like, "Oh Allah, enter me into Jannah. Oh Allah, give me my hisab, easy hisab. Oh Allah, give me my book in the right hand." All of these things can be asked for, because we don't know which dua is going to be accepted. So the more du'as that we ask for, the more kind of things that we say, it's going to make it easier for us, for Allah to accept our dua. Okay. The same with all these actions that we do as well. So for example, like reading Ayatul Kursi after Salat, or even things like doing tasbih, or things like doing wudu. These narrations mention our sins are going to be forgiven. But it doesn't mean that if all of these things, let's say there's 10 things that you do and each one of them forgives your sins, it doesn't mean that you just do one and then you just suffice. No, try to do as many as you can, so that if one is not accomplished, then the other one will. Okay, is the meat from Ahlul Kitab halal? Opinion flawed in the UK, as meat is more or less certain to have been stunned in these restaurant supermarkets. I don't understand the question there. Is meat from Ahlul Kitab? So basically, according to the Quran, the meat of the Ahlul Kitab, meaning someone who identifies as a Christian, someone who identifies as a Jew, if they were to slaughter meat, you're allowed to eat that meat. There's a difference of opinion. Do they have to say the name of Allah when they slaughter it, or don't they? That's a difference of opinion amongst scholars. Okay, but in principle, if a Christian or a Jew was to slaughter meat, and they slaughter it, it's permissible for us to eat it. That's the rule. Now, does that mean that it's better to eat Muslim meat than their meat? Not necessarily. I mean, both are considered to be the same. Yeah, the Quran treats both the same. But I mean, the one which is obviously going to be much more convincing, that you feel more content in your heart that this meat is definitely slaughtered in the correct way, then it obviously makes sense to act upon that. So because Muslim slaughtered meat is widely available, then it's better to eat that, I would say. But it's not necessarily, you won't be sinful if you were to eat the Ahlul Kitab meat. Yeah, so I don't understand the question. Okay, next. If someone is evil, sins, family or non-family, and this is the reason you no longer want anything to do with them, so you stop communicating with them, is this still cutting ties? So it depends what kind of sin it is. If it's like a categorical sin, if it's like an open categorical sin, then yes, breaking ties with them would be permissible. Yeah, you'd be allowed to do that. But if it's not a categorical sin, if it's something which is mukhtalaf, there's different opinions about it, then no. Does someone praying salah alone need to recite iqamah? No, they don't need to. Are genetically modified fruits, vegetables halal to eat? Is it halal to farm? Yes, it's permissible. There's nothing haram about it. I mean, if you think about it, humans have always like kind of been crossbreeding different types of fruit and vegetable. You know, even wheat is a good example of it. It's been domesticated. So tampering with nature or these kind of things has been done by humans throughout history. And obviously, ethically, some people might disagree with genetically modified, but it's not necessarily haram in Islam. Yeah, it's not haram in Islam to eat this or to produce it. Yeah, someone might say, well, you know, it's not a good thing. We're not supposed to, you know, do this kind of thing to the cells of fruit and vegetables. But there's nothing categorical in Islam to say you can't alter them. What's the difference between the arsh and kursi? So the arsh in Arabic is considered to be like the seat of a king. They call it the arsh, the thing that he sits on. And the kursi is considered to be the footstool. So the footstool has like a footstool where he puts his feet. So like a king used to sit on a throne, and then he'd have a footstool where he puts his feet on top. Right here, you know, like his feet are hanging. Under his feet he has this kind of step. That's called the kursi. So arsh is the kind of like big throne, you can say. Why is combing impermissible in iddah? Why is combing? You mean I think the question is you're asking for a woman. Combing. So it's only that combing which is done to adorn yourself for other people. As for combing to just maintain your hair, that's totally allowed. You're allowed to comb the hair. So it's like, you know, we say fashioning your hair. So fashioning your hair would not be allowed. So in a iddah, basically, and a woman's, you know, husband has passed away. This is the one whose husband passed away, by the way, not the one who's been given divorce. So a woman whose husband passed away, she is recommended to, she's told basically to, for 4 months and 10 days, she has to show some sort of grievance, right, or sorrow, sadness over passing of her husband, and therefore she doesn't adorn herself, because adorning herself is a sign that she's ready to get married. So when we say adorn, we mean to make yourself in such a way that you're kind of like attracting other people for proposals of marriage. So like we said, the combing is permissible, as in, you know, if it's just for, you know, maintaining your hair, totally fine. So obviously Islam does not want a woman to go around with all like crazy, you know, disheveled hair, looking like a mad woman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Can you explain the concept and reasons of joining prayers in the Hanafi school? Joining prayers. I mean, Hanafis don't join the prayers. I don't understand. In Hanafis, all prayers have to be prayed at their fixed time. So even if you go on a journey, you don't join prayers. Yeah, Hanafis, they don't have that concept. So I don't understand maybe you can rephrase the question. But the Shafis and the Malikis and Hanbalis, they allow on a journey and due to other reasons for a person to combine certain salats together. So like Zuhur and Asr and Maghrib and Isha, these two. Okay, next. Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible for women, especially according to Islam, to take up a key role in politics, like become an MP? I know that sometimes you'll have to advocate for things that may go against one's beliefs in the name of promoting equality, but then I look at the leadership role of our Prophet ﷺ, and he was successful in bringing community together on a religious and secular level. He promoted equality and treatment for all regardless of background. Can you explain this, please? Okay, so this question, I'm sure you've all heard the question, understood the question. So this question you need to understand certain things first of all. So for instance, like in Islam, let's say for instance, we have, let's say, Quran, and the Quran has been explained by the Prophet ﷺ. So we believe that the best explanation of Islam is the explanation of the Quran and the Sunnah, right? And then that which was adopted by the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, this is like you can say the ultimate sort of measure of Islam. So if you want to look at the best measure of Islam, the best example of Islam, you just have to look at the past of how they kind of implemented things. You get an idea of how it worked and functioned in them days, and then over the years the scholars, the experts can understand how it's supposed to be implemented in our times. That's basically how it is. What a lot of people fail to understand is that times are never going to be the same. So for example, like let's take things like wars. So in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there were wars. Today we have wars. But over the years, over the 1,500 years, wars have never been the same. They've always changed. There have always been advancements in technology, strategy, how wars have broken out, how wars have been controlled, how wars have been strategically used over the years to gain some sort of power, etc. Yeah, and how wars have evolved. So you've had, like nowadays, you've got things like atomic weaponry. You've got even like things like biological warfare. You've got cyber warfare. You've got media warfare, you can say. So many things which were very different in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Or for example, let's take things like just technology, for instance. How far humans have gone in technology. They've gone outside of the earth into space. That's obviously if you believe that the earth is round, and if you believe that the earth is flat, then mashallah, congratulations. But yeah, so you see, as the times go by, what happens is things change. And so because things change, we need to understand of how Muslims, the roles of Muslims, the functions of Muslims, how much scope there is for change as well. So one of the things is, for example, like women leaders. So in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, you didn't have a woman leader as you had men leaders. Men were generally the leaders of society. However, when Islam came, we saw that women took a very important roles in society. Like for example, women being judges. You had women judges. You had women as teachers, teaching men even. You had women as being role models, etc. So this was something which existed in Muslim societies. So we're living in a society today where it's not the 100% verbatim 7th century society, you can say. You don't have the same sort of set of rules that are governing everything. So therefore, the way we function in this society is going to be very different. For example, like there are more women now working in society. There are more women who are now, probably providing for the families than men are providing for families in the past. You've got more women who are now accepting Islam, and they obviously need support. More women who are now homeless. You got more women who are possibly even non-practicing as well. So therefore, women's role in society has changed quite a lot now. Now we're not saying to people that women have to go back to how it was in the past, and they have to live in villages and they have to live behind closed doors. No, that's something which is impractical. So if a woman has to take up a role in a society as a leader, as a community leader, as someone who kind of supports values of the community and does things, then why not? Yeah, it doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. And the narrations with regards to that, any society that has a woman leading over them, that society will never succeed. There's actually a context behind this. Like, what was this referring to? Was this referring to autonomous power, or was this referring to any form of women leadership, even in the household? What was the reasoning behind it? So this is something that scholars have debated over the years, and Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanwi has also written extensively about this in India's context as well. So I would say it would be permissible, but as any leader, anyone who takes any position of leadership, then I think it's very, very important that whether it's male or female, they always have to remember two things. Number one is they always have to remember that the objectives and aims of leadership is always going to, as a Muslim, is always going to have to be upright, to be just, to have belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ethics and morals of the deen of Islam should be in their mind, prioritize them. And the second is that if they are obviously living in a society which is a majority non-Muslim society, they have to take into consideration the non-Muslims as well. Yeah, and it's very difficult for obviously someone to be able to fully 100% everything, keep everything, like we say, Islamic according to the book. It's not going to be something which is going to be possible nowadays. Okay. Salam alaikum salam. The only way I can simplify is it would be same or similar to getting head or hair permed using permanent dye. Does this help to answer? Oh, this was that question regarding having those eye lash perms or something. I don't know what they were. Yeah, so like I said, that requires understanding of how these kind of things work, and I don't really have time to go and research these kind of. That's why I need you guys to tell me how it works. So it was. I mean, the question was just to refresh your memories of those people. It was regarding LVL treatment. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. LVL treatment. And the questioner was saying that I basically asked the questioner, I need more details on how exactly it works. And they were saying they can't send me any information about it. They can't send the link or something's not working. Yeah, so I don't know if any of you guys know what LVL is, how it works exactly. Maybe you guys can help. Okay, is voting haram for Muslims in the UK? Blah, blah. Can you give me a bit more info on, as one family members is very persistent, it's haram, unsure of what my justification should be. I mean, I think Tories have won. Yeah, so now, alhamdulillah, for the next 4 years, we don't have to hopefully bring up this big debate about whether voting is halal or haram. I mean, this is, to me, I think it's a very, very silly sort of debate, especially in the climate that we're in, and especially if you look at it from a academic point of view. I think it's a very silly debate, and especially when majority of the scholars, I mean, I don't know any scholar that has said it's haram. I don't know any particular scholar like who is a reputable scholar that has said it's haram. I know scholars that don't vote. I know scholars that vote and encourage voting. I know scholars that say that it's wajib to vote. But I don't know anyone. There's a few groups of people out there, very politically active people, who believe that it's their duty to kind of inform people that you're not allowed to vote. It's haram. It's shirk. Blah blah blah. But I don't see like a very strong argument of this. The arguments are very sort of like black and white arguments. Yeah, it's a very superficial argument that they bring up, quoting ayats and without really looking to the fiqh behind it. So I mean, online you can find loads of stuff. If you Google online, YouTube, Sheikh Haytham Haddad and others, they've discussed this. So I mean, I don't really want to kind of go into these kind of things again. When it starts again in 4 years' time, then inshallah I'll give a detailed answer. Who is your favorite cricketer? Imran Khan. Only joke. I don't know. I'm not really into cricket, so I don't know many cricket players, famous ones. I mean, the usual Muslim ones. But okay, you're going to be 40 soon, and it's a special number, as they say most prophets receive prophethood at the age of 40. Have you thought what are your future goals going to be, both short term and long term? And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you a long, healthy life, which is spent in manner. Yes, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair. Yes, I'm going to be 40 soon, inshallah. The thing is, I've always had like goals and objectives in my mind. So at the moment, my objective, the long-term goal in my mind is obviously I want to be able to do as much as khidmat al-deen as possible before I die. I don't know when that could be. So as much khidmat al-deen I can do it, and more. I mean, my main focus is in trying to disseminate knowledge to people in a way which is beneficial to them. So it's not just randomly just going around and just blurting out information. It's about doing it in a structured way. So that's the long-term goal. That's how I want to be able to teach as many people as I can around the world Quran, Arabic, fiqh, etc., these sciences. And so that's the long-term goal. Then a bit short-term, bit more shorter than that, is to be able to set up some sort of a free online initiative where this knowledge can be accessible to people across the world, and it's produced in such a high quality way, like a Hollywood way basically. So the amount of budget that Hollywood have for movies, imagine we had that kind of budget for teaching the deen, teaching Quran, teaching hadith, with all teams and having all these kind of editing and all that. That's the kind of thing I think Muslims should aim for. I mean, think about it. So many people have started practicing Islam and become close to their faith just by watching things like the Umar series and Urtugal, that Turkish kind of series, and these kind of series. Imagine so many people have started to contemplate about their religion and about their values in life, etc., by watching these. So it can have a very good big impact on people, media, especially nowadays with the kind of thing that we have. So yeah, that's my long-term. Short-term goal is obviously to kind of to empower people to be able to do the khidmat of deen as well. Yeah, so that's the short-term goal. So that's why I try to focus on few people, try to give them more of my time, try to teach them, students of knowledge, etc. Okay. Jazakallah khair for the du'as. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. How would you know your istikhara of marriage is positive? If you're getting complicated, mixed feelings with positives and negatives, what should you do? Okay, so let me tell you something. 3 things here about if you want to do istikhara. Number 1 is the thing that you want to do istikhara regarding, right? The thing that you want to do istikhara regarding, like let's say it's marriage. Number 1 is you have to have investigated it fully. Investigate. So let's say, for example, you want to get married to a woman, or you want to get married to a man, or you want to get married to a jinn or whatever. So you want to get married basically. First of all, number 1 is make sure you've investigated everything like that you'd want to know, right? Once you're happy, number 2, right? Once you're happy with that, number 2 is obviously meet them, yeah. And then number 3 is that when everything is done, you're happy, they're happy, and the only thing they're waiting for now is your response now, the third, right? That's when you do istikhara. Do istikhara and go for it. Yeah, and you don't have to wait for feelings or anything. That's one interpretation that some scholars in the past have said, that you wait for a feeling. Other scholars say no. The hadith does not say anything about feelings. The hadith simply says when any one of you feels like wants to do something, then he should pray 2 rakats. He should make the dua to Allah and then go for it. And that going for it is istikhara. And if it's not meant to be, Allah will stop it from happening. Yeah. So those are the 3 things basically you do. So you first of all, you find out all the information. Let's say you want to buy a car. Find out all the information that you want to buy the car, that you're happy with this. Is this the particular car that you want? Right. Number 2, contact the seller. Make sure that they're happy with the price. And then number 3, just do istikhara and go for it. Yeah. Otherwise, these kind of like people do istikhara, they see a dream and then they get confused and they start have bad stomach and they start roly-polies and all that kind of stuff. I think that makes the istikhara more confusing than if a person didn't have to do it. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. I know some people who play certain instruments such as piano because it develops certain parts of the brain. Would this be permissible? Is it something we can encourage in children learning? See, this is a kind of difficult one. This is because, first of all, you have 2 things. You have one, which is the issue of playing musical instruments, which is, although majority of scholars are against it, there are some scholars who do allow it. So let's say, for example, we stick to the safe side and we stick to the majority of scholars. And then the second thing you have is human development. Yeah, so humans developing themselves. Like, for example, you probably heard of that guy, I don't know what his name was, maybe you guys know his name, who had a stutter, and they actually found that when he listens to music, yeah, he puts music on in his earphones, he actually can read without stuttering, and he can actually speak without stuttering. So they found this link in the brain that when the brain listens to music, for these particular people who have a problem with stuttering, that they don't get it anymore. Yeah, and so for medical purposes, we know that things which are not permissible, that if they can help a person, then they actually are allowed for that particular individual. So this is why we have 2 problematic issues here. So now, if a person was to say, well, look, if there's enough studies that have been done to prove that this is something that can actually help develop someone who is in a situation where they require development, then I don't see no problem in that. But if it's just for the average person, then I would be cautious. I would have my reservations. Yeah, so I would say for people who definitely doctor has said, look, it's going to help them a lot, and especially they have some sort of a mental issues that they've got, then yeah. Okay. Assalam. I think I have. Okay, I think I have had a similar dream a few times now, and I wanted to know what it means. All I remember is that I felt I was being possessed, and when it was happen, I would say astaghfirullah and then recite 3 quls. I think sometimes I would forget some of the words in Surah Al-Falaq and Nas, the ending part. Then I would start from the beginning, but other times I managed to read it fully. I remember feeling very sure that Allah will protect me as long as I kept reading. I remember when saying astaghfirullah, I would say it with so much force and certainty that I almost felt like I was saying it in real life. Maybe I was sleep talking. I remember thinking later, oh, I need to ask Mufti Liaqat this. MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair for remembering that part. As it happened before, but can't remember if this was part of the dream or the first thing I thought upon waking up. It's weird because it's happened recently, but I do remember this part of the dream, and that's all I remember. I have never been possessed before. I don't know if it's supposed to have bad signs. Okay, so what does this mean? So these kind of dreams, the scholars say, basically what they mean is either one or two things. It either means that there is some sort of ayn, right, some nazar, like we say, nazar, or evil eye, that a person might be afflicted with, a subtle sort of like influence on it, just like a person has a cold. So just like physically you can have various degrees of illnesses, there's various degrees of evil eyes you can have. You can have a very light one, a persistent one that's like a persistent like cold that some people have long term, they had it for years, and you can have that as well. So I mean, my suggestion would be either get yourself checked out by someone who's reliable, or recite Quran regularly, listen to Quran regularly, and inshallah you'll be okay. Okay, assalamu alaikum. In the Hanafi books like Nur al-Idah, it mentions that if there is a need to relieve oneself or pass wind, then you shouldn't pray in that state. If you have IBS and at times during the day you will have constant wind problems or the need to use the bathroom is frequently. With IBS there is the occasional issue that it might not be wind but a need for the bathroom, which can be hard to tell. Can a person with this condition continue to pray even if they have the need? So the need to go to the bathroom, when the scholars say that there is a need to go to the bathroom and you shouldn't pray, what they mean by that is there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that says that if a person requires to go to the toilet, meaning is desperate to go toilet, then he should go toilet and then he should pray afterwards. So what they mean by this is, what the hadith means according to the commentators, is that if a person is so desperate they can't focus in salat, like when you're so desperate that you're trying to balance on one foot and the other foot and you're trying to cross your legs and all that kind of desperate feeling, that's what they're talking about. So if a person is not at that level, they're not feeling that kind of they want to go toilet but they can hold it in, it's not taking their concentration away in salat, right, then they don't have to go toilet. Ideally they should go toilet, but they don't have to, especially if a person suffering from this kind of situation, they're exempted. Okay, can you clarify the haircut as you gave? The counter argument is that the kids are imitating kuffar, celebrities, sports stars, etc. when getting these fresh trims. Okay, so this is a common question which I think I get in every other live stream question answers about haram haircuts. Well, let me explain again. So in our whole database of hadith, there doesn't seem to be anything that's mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ told someone off for having a bad hairstyle, except on one occasion. There's one hadith that we have where the Prophet ﷺ saw a little boy, and this boy seems to have had some crazy kind of patches of hair everywhere, and the Prophet ﷺ said it looks basically like patchy clouds. He said it's qaza, which is patchy clouds. And then he said either shave it all off, he said to the parents, either shave it all off or let it grow. So like we said, that the scholars say that this is either referring to a specific type of religious haircut that was done in them days, like the Jews have, the locks on the side, or it was basically that the parents had not cut their child's hair properly. It was like very random and just like patches here and there, and it didn't look nice, etc. So from this, what we say is that having this type of particular random hairstyle which looks ugly in society is something that is disliked by Islam, because you're not presenting yourself nicely, and it's always important for a Muslim to be presentable. So now some people say this is not allowed because it resembles celebrities or sports stars. Now see, the thing is, like in Islam, what things can't we do when it comes to resembling? This is like a very sort of like confused topic amongst the public. People are confused because they hear regularly scholars saying we shouldn't be resembling other religions, or we shouldn't be. So look, a very simple rule according to the Hanafis. They have very simple rule. The simple rule is this: two things. Resembling falls under two things. Number one is you are not allowed to resemble any religious specific action. So if there's a specific, let's say, cult or faith that does a specific action, right? Muslims can't resemble that. So for example, like let's say they do a particular type of worship in a particular way, or they wear particular clothing for that particular worship, like maybe Buddhists have this specific attire, or the Jews have their their hairs, locks on the sides, etc. That's not allowed, because that's clear resemblance of the other religious group. Yeah, that's not allowed. So Hanafis say that is not allowed. But if it's not specific to religion, like for example wearing a suit, it's not specific to a religion. Wearing a tie is not specific to religion. Although some people, I don't know where they get it from, they say the tie resembles the cross, and I don't know, Allah knows best where people get their logics from. So driving a car, it's not specific to religion. Using a Colgate toothbrush is not specific to religion. Driving on the left hand side of the road is not specific to religion, etc. The second thing that the Hanafis say is that if your intention is deliberately to follow a certain act which is something that is frowned upon, like for example a specific type of, you believe by deliberately me following this particular individual who's doing something wrong, that is considered to be wrong. So those are the two times. Otherwise, if let's say for example someone wears a football top and someone says most of the people who wear football tops are all non-Muslims and they drink alcohol, that means you can't resemble them. Or I don't know, maybe even like wearing like a hat like this on my head, you shouldn't wear this hat because non-Muslims wear it. You should get the ones from Muslim countries. You should wear the Urtugal ones, the ones that kind of with that symbol on the front. No, that's silly, guys. So that's not really an argument, guys. So this is why as Muslims, guys, we need to be more mature, we need to be more sophisticated than looking at these kind of things. Our religion is a beautiful religion. It's consistent. The arguments that the Quran presents are very, very powerful. And then when we look at things like how much should we imitate people, how much can we not imitate people, it's like you wear underwear, don't you? And who made underwear? How many more non-Muslims may wear underwear than probably Muslims wear underwear. So does that mean that wearing underwear is not allowed? Or socks or things like that? No. So if celebrities wear like a specific types of clothing, or as long as that clothing is not revealing nakedness of the body and it's not seductive towards opposite gender, etc., then it's fine. Or sports personalities. Okay. I think a lot of this kind of stuff people get is because in our minds we think Muslims should look a certain way. We think Muslims' clothing should be in a certain way, like a specific uniform they should wear, or a specific kind of hairstyle they should have, or maybe we think the utensils they use at home should be specific, or even I don't know. You guys, let me know. Is there a dua for boldness that you know of? The one that I know, no. Alhamdulillah, I'm not bold, so I haven't had the time, or haven't had the need to go and research the du'as for boldness. Okay, how is it recommended to remove buttocks and hair near the anus? So, how is it recommended? Well, basically, you simply use a shaver. Use a shaver, you try to get there as best as possible. If you can't get there, it doesn't matter. You try to. The main area that you need to clean is the area around the penis, the vagina, scrotum, etc. That's the main area that you need to cover. The other areas, if you can't get there, it doesn't matter. Especially if someone's going to cut themselves, very delicate area. Okay, why is baldness a thing if man was created in its best form? Okay, this is a good question. So basically, someone's asking, might be the same person that's asking for the dua. Who knows? Could be someone else. So for example, like let's say there's a person, a human being, and Allah has said that he has, what's the ayah? لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We've created man in the best, like taqweem. Taqweem means like the best sort of like balanced, proportionate form, structure. So I think, see, what happens is people seem, maybe this is because of lots of translations that have occurred, people seem to have a misconstrued understanding of how Allah does things and how the Quran says things. There is no ayah in the Quran or no hadith in the Quran that says that a man having lots of hair is the sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's nothing. And there's no ayah or hadith that says that if a man loses hair, he becomes low in the eyes of Allah, and etc. So this idea of a person, for example, like when Allah says that He's created in the best proportionate way, what does this mean? So this is now, okay, let's see, what does it mean that Allah has created man in the best proportionate way? Now if you look at man, he's upright, he stands upright. Yeah, and this is the best we can say for a creature who is going to dominate the world, who's going to travel all across the world. The best posture, instead of being on all fours or on the belly, is to be on twos, and for him to be able to have less hair in his body, yeah, for him to, let's say, be able to communicate, talk, have vocal cords that can communicate, talk, for him to be able to think. This is what ahsan taqweem means. Now when Allah creates man, right, the main function of man is to be able to act as man. But as Allah has created him, there are going to be, you can say, like byproducts now. So because man can walk, it means that man's foot is going to be of a different shape. If man's foot's going to be of a different shape, the problems that man will face because of his feet are going to be different than let's say a horse is going to face. And because his back is going to be upright, it means that man is going to face things with his shoulders and his chest that other animals won't face. And because man is going to be talking, it means man will face issues, will have problems in life with vocal cords and things that other animals won't have. And you get the idea. So in other words, for a human being to function correctly, and for his hair to grow, and for the stomach to digest, there has to be certain things that man has. And then because man has these things, and for that man to develop and last for 60, 70, 80 years, obviously there's going to have to be changes which people might see as wrong. For example, man has to die. So if someone says, if Allah created man in the best forms, why does he die for? Isn't the best form for him to live forever? That's what you think. But that's not necessarily how Allah has created him. Or for example, like if man is supposed to be in the best of creations, how come his eyesight is not as strong as the eyesight of an eagle? Well, that's what you think. So you're in your mind looking at all the best qualities and characteristics of all the animals, and like a sci-fi film, you're trying to make the best human being, like like X-Men. You're trying to make this best, like X-Men. He's got supervision and he's controlled with his mind, and he's got. So this is where I think people make big mistakes, where they try to dictate to Allah in their minds, you could say passively. Not obviously, no one's dictating to Allah. Allah, He dictates to us. But you're trying to kind of dictate to Allah of how things should occur. And then what happens basically is that you feel inside that, look, why am I created like this for? So Allah creating man and him losing his hair is an amazing thing. This is actually a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator. He creates these follicles in the hair. He creates this hair that grows. He creates different color hair. He creates hair that grows in certain parts of the body which has one texture, and another part of the body has a different texture. All of these things are part of man being born, man and woman. When I say man, I mean man and woman as well. So this is like, this is something that we have to remember. So Allah creating man, it doesn't mean that Allah should have created him a different way. He should have created all men with hair, because it's not the hair that defines a man. Yeah, it's never been the hair that defines a man. Yeah, maybe some communities see, a full-haired man as beautiful, and some people see them as a bald-headed man beautiful. Yeah, nowadays, there's lots of people out there, celebrities, bald-headed is supposed to be, good-looking or something. So I think people have a bit confusion, about these kind of things. So I would disagree that when you say he's created in the best form, that baldness is not part of the best form. If you went to dinner to your favorite fancy restaurant, what would you order, starting from drinks, starters, main dish, with sides and desserts? It could be any cuisine. Okay, this is a very important question, mashallah. Yeah, so according to Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, what you should have for dessert basically is you should have chicken wings, roasted chicken wings, or maybe you should have samosa chaat, or maybe even, if you want to be a bit kind of like specific, then maybe you might want to have roasted prawns, grilled prawns, yeah, be with some hot sauce. That's for starters. And then for main dish, you might want to eat, let's say, deer biryani. Yeah, it's a new thing that I've heard of. I want to try deer biryani. Yeah, so Allah knows how that tastes. But deer biryani, or maybe just like normal. I heard Lucknow biryani. I haven't had Lucknow biryani. I heard Lucknow biryani is good. Or maybe even something. I had Hyderabadi biryani. That's good. And maybe, I don't know, some desserts. Maybe have some the usual gulab jamun and ice cream. Forget that. Everyone's had that. Every wedding you go to, you've got that now. Yeah, maybe have some, I don't know, some ice cream or something else. Who knows? And for drinks, lassi. Yeah, having salted lassi. Excellent. And maybe have some, desi tea at the end. Yeah, does the job. Yeah, fills the stomach. Okay, what would you guys have? Let me know. Yeah, starter, dinner, dessert, and drinks. Okay, Salam. Is it permissible to vote, and why do some people think it isn't permissible? So I think we answered that. Assalamu alaikum. I would like to know about these khatams that many people do on Thursdays around Asr time. Apparently, I've heard Pakistani people saying that it's to pray for those who are deceased. Can you explain this and if it's an authentic practice? I mean, I've never come across any ayat or hadith that's authentic that that specifies this time. So I don't know where this practice is from. No. And if this was a practice that is recommended to do, we would have found Sahaba doing it. It would have been something that was prevalent amongst them. We don't find them, so I prefer to stick to what the Sahaba did. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. I would like to know what that when a person passes away and you go to give condolences, often the family will give you beads to pray on, such as the first kalima or Surah Ikhlas, etc. for the deceased person. Then the third day, when they make dua khatam, they include that in. However, I've seen some people don't take part in that. I wanted to know more about this. Please, can you explain about this in your next question answers? Okay, so all these practices, they are not established from the Sahaba. But if a person was to do them believing that they are sending reward to the deceased, alhamdulillah, it's a very good thing. But to believe that you have to do it in these 3 days, and there has to be a specific way that you do them, that is something which is not permissible. Right? That goes into the realm of innovation. So if someone wants to read Ayatul Kursi or Surah Fatiha for someone, whenever they want to read it and send the reward of it to this is called Isal al-Thawab. Yeah, Isal al-Thawab, sending reward to them. Okay. And otherwise, these kind of things, it's no. Yeah. People should avoid these kind of things. I think when something becomes so much of a practice, it becomes ingrained inside of a society, that if you don't do this, like, you usually go to those du'as and you're sitting there and then everyone says du'a karo, and then everyone raises their hands and they're just like murmuring something, and then put your hands down, and then someone else comes in the room and says du'a karo, and everyone, like, every I don't know, about 2-3 minutes, everyone's raising their hands. Guys, you know what I'm talking about, yeah? So this kind of thing, I think people it's not established from the Sahaba that they would do this, like just raise their hands and start doing dua. You can do dua for the deceased anytime you want, but I think people do it to kind of comfort the bereaved family. So the family who have lost someone, it's just for like something like comforting. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna have a 5-minute break. Yeah, because I realized I've been continuously talking for an hour now. So I'm gonna get some green tea and have some water as well, and then I'm gonna continue your question answers. Yeah. So don't disappear. Inshallah, I'll be continuing inshallah in 5 minutes. So you got about 5 minutes or so. So I will see you in 5 minutes inshallah. Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are back. So just wait for people to come back. So alhamdulillah, a lot of questions, mashallah. Yeah, I think it's the more regular I've made this, the more you guys asking questions. Or maybe there's new people. Who here is new? Let's see if anyone's new. Is there anyone new? If you don't wanna, if you don't wanna say on the what's it, you don't have to. You say on Curious Cat. If you're new, to say I'm new. Just to see if we're getting new people asking questions. I don't know. Is it regulars? Is it regulars asking regular questions? Yeah, and what's it for Curious Cat is curiouscat.me/Saman82. Ya Allah. Okay, is everyone here? Right, so you guys can hear, yeah? Okay, let's start. Okay, so I'll continue with the questions then. So, Assalamu alaikum Ustad. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for explaining the concept of evil eye last week in questions. As I had never heard of the hadith or reference in the Quran, I had some follow-up questions. When you mentioned the hadith that Sahaba gave water from his limbs to the one who was affected, how is that doable in this day and age? Yeah, it's difficult. Yes, it's difficult, but if you know, like for example, there's one teacher in our madrasa. One day, what happened basically was he had his son with him, and he was going shopping. So he went to some bookstores, and afterwards, like the child just got suddenly ill. So he just thought to himself, it's a bit strange. My child doesn't really get ill that easily, and he fainted and things like that. So then he thought to himself, in the bookstore there was another friend of his who said his child looked very beautiful, and he thought maybe that's the guy. So he actually went back to the bookstore, saw him there, and asked him if he can just wash his hands or something, and then he sprinkled the water on the child, and the child got better. So in this age it is possible if you know obviously who was the person. So some people don't do it deliberately, it's just effects. I mean, there's one guy I know, yeah, and this guy basically, trust me, I don't know how it happens. Every time the guy is impressed by something bad happens. So basically, I bought my car, brand new car. Well, not brand new, but like it was new for me. And I went to take it and park it. And as I was parking it, what happened was he said, "Very nice." You know what happened? Straight away, in 10 seconds, the car stopped working. And no one knew what was wrong with the car. And then I realized this guy, several times before, he said similar things, and things have happened like around me or my brother or someone. So anyway, after a while, maybe about 15-20 minutes, the car started again, and that problem has never happened in the car after that. Never before that, never after that again. Yeah, so some people are just like that. Okay, anyway, so because firstly, we often don't know who gave us the ain. Secondly, what if they genuinely intended to harm you, and it would be so awkward to go up to them? Yeah, definitely. Then just read du'as. In that case, read du'as, read ayat in the Quran. Do ruqya on the particular person who's afflicted. Also, what about the idea of people saying mashallah? Yes, so mashallah is actually something that comes in hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ, he said you should say mashallah. So by saying mashallah, it's like saying that, it's like a form of protection as well, because you're saying that, this person is beautiful, mashallah. So mashallah means whatever Allah has willed. So it kind of like it lessens the effects of it. Now we don't know exactly how evil eye works. What's the the process it takes? How many different types of evil eye are there? We don't know. Salam, can women pray janazah prayer? Yes, they can. Advice on how to stop something that you are addicted to? I don't know really. Apart from, these kind of things, I think you don't need to ask a scholar. You can just go online, Google it, you find loads of articles and information about stopping something you're addicted to. Right, so I think that's the best place to check. Salam, alaikum salam. Can you go over the questions that you don't have time for last week? Yeah, I went over them. Wa alaikum salam. With all the dhulm going on in the world, it looks like it's getting worse and worse. Could it be that we are near the day of judgment? Possibly. Climate change, natural resources running out, unfit leaders running the country, people being killed for no reason, sinful things happening. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, why not? Day of judgment is always coming closer. It's never going to go further. Yeah, so today it's closer than it was in the days of Sahaba. This is a long question, but I feel very strongly about it and upsets me a lot. I don't know if I'm even right to feel this way, but all my life I've felt that scholars and shuyukh in khutbahs. Okay, good. Right, microphone's quite far away, so shuyukhs in khutbahs and talks always paint rich people in a very negative. Rich people in a very negative light, which makes them, i.e. rich people, feel guilty about their wealth and they feel alienated. And I've seen them not wanting to attend talks. There's this mindset that you can't be rich and muttaqi at the same time. I once went to a halaqah, and at the end of I went to the sheikh to ask something, and he looked at me and said, if you want to be close to Allah, give all your wealth away. MashaAllah. Okay, how can I convince my baba and uncles to attend such talks and come closer to Islam, and all they hear is that if you want akhirah, then divorce the dunya? Don't you feel we need to be more sensitive when giving talks and have a balance? Yeah, so first of all, I don't think this is all scholars do this, right? I think this is probably entertainment scholars. So I divide speakers into two types: people who are firmly grounded in knowledge, and those who are basically entertainment scholars. So entertainment scholars are the ones that you see on YouTube, like me, basically. People who kind of are very prolific in their talks, proficient in giving speeches, eloquent, etc. Yeah, so sadly, this art of giving a talk has nothing to do with Islam at all. Like, if there's a scholar who's very powerful and he makes you cry in your talks, that does not mean he's close to Allah. I've heard non-Muslims who give talks who have made people cry. Yeah, and I've heard non-Muslims give talks and make people laugh, and non-Muslims give talks and make them feel close to God. So giving a talk and making your heart softened does not mean the speaker is close to Allah at all. Please understand this. And just because someone wears a turban on their head and someone sits on the minbar, it does not mean they're close to God. And just because a person has, lots of followers, or more specific, 33,450 followers, it doesn't mean that they're close to God. Does that make sense? So I think because in social media, that we live in social media days today, we measure success of a person how non-Muslims measure the success, as in celebritism. So what we do is, the more films they've made, the more appearances they've made on social media, the more adverts they've appeared in, the more their name's been plastered everywhere, the more we think this person is more successful in Islam, which is wrong. It's totally false. Right? So what I would say is, first of all, I don't think this is reflective of all scholars. I disagree with this. Second thing is I am totally against scholars giving talks in this manner. I think it's injustice that they're giving a talk like this, and they'll be asked on the Day of Judgment about this, because they have a very important position in giving talks to people, and tarbiyah and all of that. So I think this is totally wrong, and they need to understand the society. They need to understand in reality, a lot of speakers, a lot of scholars, I'm not good at giving talks, right? A lot of speakers, what happens is, because they've never been exposed to what average person's being exposed to, they don't know how to talk about it. So they talk about it from a very utopian sort of point of view. It's all about, this dunya is evil. It's all about, we should always work for the akhirah, don't work for the dunya. Whatever you do in the dunya is cursed, etc. So it makes the dunya seem very, very doomy, gloomy, and we can't do anything for it, and we should just be like the Ashabul Kahf. So I think that is something that needs to change. People need guys, average person, including me, including all of you guys, we all need to be more diligent. We don't listen to every scholar. Just because a scholar has a very exotic accent, maybe American accent, or a British accent, or South African accent, or whatever accent, it doesn't mean that they speeches we should listen to them. Right? I think we don't go to every doctor, do we? Just because doctors are famous, just because there's lots of doctors around, or one doctor is particularly famous, it doesn't mean that we go to him. We obviously go to people who are accredited by other experts. Okay, so is there such a thing as a? If you think about it, if you look into the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He never looks like criticizes wealth in any ayah in the entire Quran. Never criticizes wealth. Yes, what he criticizes is miserliness. Miserliness is criticized in the Quran time and time again. And, like adhering to wealth and leaving the other rights, your duties, that's what's criticized in the Quran. Yeah. But besides that, wealth in itself is never criticized in the Quran. I mean, maybe you guys know some ayats, maybe you can put some up. Is there such a thing as a place that is, and I personally think Muslims should be financially stable and should also, make effort in their deen as well. Two things you should do. If all Muslims are financially stable and all Muslims were making effort in getting close to Allah through their acts of worship and helping others, I think Muslims would be in a stronger state. And financially, people think, Muslims don't need to be financially stable. We can do things with dua and tawakkul in Allah and, just doing what the Sahaba did. No, Sahaba were rich people. Many of the Sahaba were billionaires. If it wasn't for the billionaire Sahabas, then maybe the deen would not have reached where it reached today. If it wasn't for Uthman radiallahu anhu, and the financial support he gave for the deen. If it wasn't for Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, if it wasn't for, these wealthy, Anas radiallahu himself, the Prophet ﷺ, he made dua that Allah gives him lots of wealth, barakah in his wealth. And he became one of the most wealthiest Sahaba. Is there such a thing as a place that is a neutral place, not Jannah or Jahannam? You mean the hereafter? No, not really. No. So the Quran just tells us about two outcomes. Jannah, fariqun fil jannati wa fariqun fis sa'ir. That's all. Now, Jannah is obviously something we cannot imagine, the different types of Jannah, the different levels of Jannah, the different dimensions of Jannah, the different aspects of Jannah, the different fragrances of Jannah, the different, like this world is one world, isn't it? Like it's one world, one reality. Jannah could have trillions and trillions of realities that we don't know. And Jahannam could be the same as well. So we should never think to ourselves that Jannah is just one place, like one door. Everything in Jannah is all the same. All the trees are the same. All the ground is the same. All the houses are the same. No. Okay. Someone said you can't raise hands at graves when making dua. Is this wrong? What do you do when visiting graves? So there's a difference of opinion regarding raising of the hands. Some scholars say that you don't raise your hands. Some scholars say you do raise your hands. So whichever opinion you take is fine. Some of my teachers didn't raise their hands at graves. They would make dua. And some of them would raise their hands at graves but face towards the Qibla. Yeah, so when you go to the graveyards, first of all, it's recommended to read the dua when you enter the graves, that we say, Assalamu alaikum, all those who are in the graves. You are our predecessors and we are following in your footsteps. And then you read Fatiha for them or whatever. Okay, you can read some adhkar, dhikr, you can read Quran to them. It's fine. It's all good. If someone is looking to get married and you know something negative, a sin about that prospective person they want to marry, should you inform them? If it's got to do directly with the marriage, then you must tell them. But if it's not got to do with the marriage, if it's like a past thing that they done, like if it's got to do with, for example, like they're on drugs, you must tell the family, because that's going to be something that's going to affect the marriage badly. Or, if it's to do with they've got a problem with alcohol, or maybe they've got a problem with gambling or something like that, you must tell, because these are things we all know affect marriages. Okay, what do males do when seeing pre-ejaculate stains on pants when waking up? Do they have to wash soiled parts 3 times and wash private parts, do ghusl, etc.? Yeah, so basically if a guy wakes up and in his underwear he finds pre-ejaculate, then according to the Hanafis, then what this person should do is they should do ghusl. Yeah, wash that part of the underwear or change the underwear and do ghusl and bathe. Yeah, that's what they should basically do. This is according to Abu Hanifa rahimullah and Imam Muhammad rahimullah. Abu Yusuf rahimullah, he says no, unless you see a dream, unless you see an erotic dream, then you take a bath. Otherwise, if you don't see an erotic dream and you just find stains, then you don't. What does don't pray when food is served mean? You tell me. What does it mean? I mean, I think what you're talking about is this concept in our fiqh, which is that when food is presented, then eat the food first, then pray. I think that's what you mean. So yes, this is a true statement. In fact, there were many Sahaba like Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu who used to actually say, when my food comes to me, I sometimes hear the salat going on in the masjid, whilst I'm eating my food. So the rule basically is that if you're hungry and your hunger is so much that it's kind of like it's stopping you from concentrating in prayer, eat your food first, then pray. Yes, I actually exempted from praying even in the congregation if you're so hungry. But if you're not that hungry, you can eat a few morsels and you can pray, then you should pray. See, the aim is, Abu Hanifa rahimullah said, is a famous statement he has. He says, لَأَنْ يَكُونَ طَعَامِي كُلُّهُ صَلَاةً خَيْرًا مِنْ أَنْ يَكُونَ صَلَاتِي كُلُّهُ طَعَامًا. That my food, like whilst I'm eating food, me thinking about salat, I believe is more preferred than me in prayer thinking about food. Yeah, it's a wise point, good point. And this is where, Islam is very balanced. This is what Islam and knowledge is very balanced. When you learn knowledge and you understand that there were many Sahaba who congregation was going on, but they would prefer to eat their food, right? You think to yourself, normally you think to yourself, I would rather pray than eat my food. But Sahaba, the best of people, they were showing this as an example, because remember, you want to pray your salat, you want your concentration to be there, you want your focus to be, you want quality prayer. And especially if you're at someone's house, like a da'wat, someone's done a food for you, and they've taken ages preparing the food, and now you're saying to them, I'm going to go to the mosque and pray, and by the time you go there, the food's going to go cold and everything, then it's upsetting for the family. So the scholars even there say you should eat the food and you should pray, with the family or something in their house. Or okay, can you wear clothes with eyes, animals, etc.? Yeah, if it's small images, like for example, see this, some of you guys probably don't know what this is, you can't see it from there, can you? So you can't tell, so that's fine. But if it's so big that you can clearly tell from a good distance that this is an image of something living, then you can't wear it in prayer. Yeah, you have to cover it up. So same with Lacoste signs, Puma signs. You can't, like if a person has never seen a Lacoste sign, they could never tell it's a crocodile. To them, it just looks like something which is like squiggly green. Okay, can you pick fruits, leaves for food from plants at night? Yes, you can. You can daytime, nighttime, basically whenever you come from work. If you come from work late and it's only nighttime, take it at nighttime. Are gold teeth allowed? Gold teeth are allowed if it's for medicinal purposes. If there's other things available like silver teeth or even synthetic teeth, then you should take those rather than gold. So gold is like if there is nothing else available, or if that's the best thing that the dentist has told you. But just to break your teeth and put gold teeth in, no, that wouldn't be allowed. How deep do you go with e-numbers? A lot of messages which are haram, etc. get forwarded. So what do you do? So I've spoken to some very close friends of mine who are muftis and who work with food organizations, and they say to me, look, in the past there's never been an issue with e-numbers because they never existed. It was always basic ingredients people had and everyone knew what food contained. Nowadays with e-numbers and all these numbers, there's so many problems now, because if you just look up an e-number can mean so many things, first of all. And then the process in which the ingredient is made, it can go through so many different processes that people don't even know exactly what the ruling of the e-number is. So I'll give you an example of how the Sahaba dealt with this. So the Sahaba, one day, Umar radiallahu anhu and some Sahaba, they came to a water. This is in the Muwatta. And Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, he asked a guy that was by the water and said that, do any animals come and drink from this water? Meaning, do wild animals come and drink from this water? Because if they do, then we can't drink from it. So Umar radiallahu anhu said to the man, don't tell us, because as long as we don't know. In other words, we don't have to. How far does a Muslim have to go to investigate something before it's considered to be burdensome? Because Allah does not burden anyone in the religion. So let's say you're in Tesco's or Asda and you bought something and it's got 30 ingredients in there. How many of those ingredients do you have to contact the seller to find out whether it's haram or not? So many of the people who are experts in this field, they've just said to me, as long as there's nothing explicitly haram in the ingredients like pork or something which is alcohol, etc., nothing explicitly haram, then you can eat it. And that's what I act upon. Yeah, I think it's the easiest way. A lot of people get, save themselves from having to go through all e-number lists, etc. Yeah. So if you want to be really super safe and you want to think to yourself, you know what, I want to be super safe, then I think the best bet is then you stay away from it. and maybe it might be even better for you to grow your own food and, you know, get your food imported from maybe some halal place. Can a Qari Hafiz with no beard, small beard lead? Yes, possibly. Yeah. So I mean, there's ikhtilaf regarding the size of the beard. Whenever there's an ikhtilaf and it's a public issue, then there's scope for it. What is Riyad al-Qudus? I have no idea. Are fancy gravestones and landscaping around a grave impermissible? If it's something which is excessive, then yes, it's impermissible. But if it's just something which is considered to be just there for remembrance and, you know, it's going to last a long time, then it's allowed. So some people, like, they do lots of fancy things around graves. I mean, I would say that wouldn't be permissible. There is some ikhtilaf in here as well, but my position would be that no. Are there days in the month when you can't do hijama? I heard there is, yeah. So I mean, I heard there is, but I'm not sure because I'm not an expert in hijama. Hijama is a medical science, and you need to ask medical people about this. So I don't know, you know, if there is any. There are some narrations, but those narrations could be talking about the Sahaba's days and a certain type of hijama that was practiced. So you'd have to contact someone who does hijama and ask them. I know there are some days they say, like some of them say that you should avoid like the 13th and 14th and 15th of every lunar month, and you should do it in the end half of the month. Is Salat al-Tasbih bid'ah? No, it's not. It's actually established. Many of the Tabi'een have reported it. Abdullah Mubarak and others, they've reported it. Yeah. Is wiping in wudu wiping the something in wudu bid'ah? I don't know. Wiping the something, I don't know what that is. Wiping the what? Okay, so I think all these questions are over now. Is it done? Oh no, it's not done. Okay, can a parent go through a child's possessions, room, etc. without permission? If they're minor, yes, why not? I mean, see, for tarbiyah purposes, you can. As in, for tarbiyah purposes, a person can, if they are gonna, like, you know, take care of them, make sure they're not doing bad things, they can. If the child becomes an adult, then I think they should, you know, they shouldn't go through their things without their permission. There's nothing like Islamically, there's no kind of ruling regarding it. I think it's more just of a social kind of thing. Okay, salams. Are we allowed to have eyelash extension? This involves authentic hair glued to. No. If it's authentic hair, you can't attach it. No. Would this have implications with wudu and ghusl? Yeah, if it's glued onto your eyelashes, etc., then your wudu won't be done. A lot of prominent Muslim women appear to have these, and it's confusing a lot of young women who are also following his permission. And the other thing is, look, lots of Muslim women are doing things on social media or on their YouTube tutorials. It doesn't mean that they're representing Islam. Guys, we have to wake up, man. We've got to wake up. Do not follow everyone thinking that they're doing it in the light of Quran and Sunnah. Yeah, people, you know, Muslim women with hijabs on, it doesn't mean that they are representing Islam. A lot of them are just doing it for the money, you know, making lots of money on YouTube. A lot of them are just doing it because it's a hobby, and maybe they have no knowledge of Islam and the tutorial, whether it's permissible for them to do that, whether they've checked out with a scholar or not. You know, I think, and especially recently, like a few months ago, when we had that couple that came out, that they were actually, you know, one was a model or something on the side, and she was like, you know, half naked doing things, and she had I don't know, some other social media pages. We've got to be. I don't understand why people keep on asking these things. Common sense would tell you that you don't have to follow Muslims on social media. You don't have to follow me, right? But you know, especially these people who do things, we need to provide for our youth something which is alternative to this, right? We seriously need to start. Parents need to start speaking to their daughters and children about, you know, makeup, about, you know, how far should we go with this. Talk about the ethics of it. And if mothers are doing it themselves and dressing themselves up for weddings, etc., and, you know, really kind of changing their looks, and then obviously you can't blame the daughter, and the daughter's going to look at her mom and say, Mom does it, you know, maybe this is how I should show myself. I should cover my face. And you know, we've got to think, what are the harms of this? Why is it causing depression to lots of young girls who try to make themselves look like they become anorexic? They have so much problems, you know, because they can't show themselves. It's a very sad situation. And guys, you know, the problem with the gym guys, yeah, gym guys are the same. Guys who are, always in the gym, always trying to look in a certain way, and then they get into problems, and then they get hooked on drugs and etc. Same sort of situation you get, guys. Yeah, so I think people, not just scholars, people should make this kind of things. And if you're a person that wears lots of makeup, you to think to yourself, there's people out there that are watching you, and then maybe thinking that, look, she can look so beautiful in makeup, I need to wear makeup as well. So I think Muslim women need to take that initiative, and if they want to help their younger sisters in the community, they should basically cut down on the makeup. That's how I see it. Maybe you disagree with me, Allah knows best. And same with the brothers. So guys shouldn't be pumping themselves so much, putting their pictures up of their bodies, etc. I think guys should be very sensible as well, and mature about this as well, and realize that people are looking up to them. If you got like a channel and you're always showing your muscles and you're always showing your stomach, and right, these are things as well that you gotta. Okay, is the Qasida Burda wording ghulu? No, I would say no. I mean, I think people do not understand the Qasida Burda properly because they don't understand Arabic poetry. If you have no understanding of Arabic poetry, if you don't know how Arabic poetry works, the only poem you've heard is Tala al-Badru alayna. You're not going to understand the concepts in Qasida Burda. Qasida Burda is a very, very nice poem, and people who say there's criticisms, if you read classical poetry, if you read poetry of in the days of Sahaba and Tabi'een, and you see some of the poetry that they've said in them days, there's lots of ghulu in there. It's the nature of poetry to do ghulu in poetry. Yeah. If there is no signal and you have no clue which direction the Qibla is in, what do you do? And actually, it might be a good idea if I do a series on Qasida Burda. Actually, it might be a good idea. Maybe in the future, inshallah, I can do one. Is there no signal? If there's no signal and you have no clue which direction the Qibla is in, what do you do? Then if there's no local person to ask, then you just whichever direction you believe it is in, your salat will be accepted. Yeah, that's the rule. So if there's no one to ask, I think sometimes if you look outside, you can see a satellite dish. Satellite dishes face in the UK towards southeast. Face that. Okay. Did you study with Mufti Hassan? Is it talking about Mufti Hassan Salim? Yeah, I studied 2 years. He was he joined our class in Pakistan. He came to our class in, I think it was the last 2 years. Yeah, I think it was the last 2 years. Yeah, last 2 years he came there. So he was in our class in the last 2 years. Can a woman's family come to propose, or should it always be the man's family? Either way, it doesn't matter. Man's, woman's side, it's whatever the society normally does. So some communities, the men will usually propose, and some communities, women will propose. Like in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, women used to come to the Prophet ﷺ, some women, and would propose to him. And, so is it an exaggeration that Ya'juj and Ma'juj will have such large ears that they will use as blankets? It's all made up. Fabricated narrations. At uni, you do not know if the Imam is leading Zuhr or Asr in winter time, so can you still join them, or should you pray alone? According to the Shafis, it's allowed. According to Hanafis, you should. So it depends how they're praying. Yeah, what they're praying. So if you 100% know what they're praying, then you can pray behind them. But if you don't know what they're praying, like if you think they're praying Zuhr but they're praying Asr, don't pray. You just wait and pray later. Okay, khalas. I think curious cat questions this week. Managed to get all these guys done. Actually, no. Is a sutra required for prayer? No, it's not required, but it's highly recommended. So it's like a barrier you put in front of yourself. According to Hanafi madhab. According to other madhabs, a different opinion. I'm not sure about other madhabs, how strict they are. The neck in wudu. So the neck in wudu, the back of the neck you mean. Front of the neck? No. You can't do front of the neck. Back of the neck, then there's, according to some Hanafis, they say it's okay. Yeah, but majority of Hanafis, early Hanafis haven't really mentioned any ruling regarding it. Okay, let's see your questions here now. See what you guys are saying. Okay, mashallah, mashallah. You guys are saying salam. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for this channel. I have learned so much and I am doing better in the Quran. Doing better in the Quran. Oh, alhamdulillah. So, Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. May Allah reward you. May Allah allow you to benefit more and give us the ability to be able to continue making more videos. Wa alaikum assalam, Kamran. MashaAllah. So, where and who did you study with? I studied in Pakistan. I studied in Jamia Ulum Islamiyya, Banuri Town. I don't know if you know my teachers. My teachers they're not that world renowned as in the celebrity, on the celebrity stage. Right, they're not celebrity ulama. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Fun. My iman is going low. What should I do? Stay in the company of good people. Read Quran. Yeah, it's gonna go up and down. Unless if someone is leading Farz Salah and they accidentally begin with Surah Nas, what should they read in the second rakat? So if they've started with Surah Nas and they continued, they need to do. So are you talking about with Jama'ah, leading Jama'ah? Yeah. Then they could read anything like. I mean, it won't render the salat batil. It won't nullify the salat. The salat will be fine. Yeah, but obviously if they read one Nas, then what can they do? Yeah, read one Nas again. Read something else. It's fine. Nads al-Mubarak, wa alaikum assalam, assalamu alaikum, Anwar Patel. What dhikr do you recommend we should read on a daily basis, and is it okay to do dhikr loudly in rhythm or tune? I would recommend to read the Quran. This is the best dhikr ever. And in the mornings, after every salat, recite 33 times Subhanallah, 33 times Alhamdulillah, 34 times Allahu Akbar. Yeah, these are the best dhikrs. If I am doubtful but not 100% certain that my clothing is impure, is it fine to pray? Yes, 100% fine to pray in them. Do you need ghusl after taking wudu? No, you don't need ghusl after taking wudu. ما فعل النغير ما شاء الله يا أبا عمير. Can I print Sahih al-Bukhari in public school? Yes, why not? You can print it. حق المركزul alhamdulillah. I brother learning Arabic grammar with the roots of knowledge. MashaAllah, Jazakumullah khair. Welcome to the roots of knowledge family, brother Haq. The Lord, you have lived in sin your whole life. You're going to hell, big man. Allahu Akbar. Okay, good thing I don't worship you. Okay, is allowed to print Islamic literature in public schools? If the school allows it, why not? Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you for all your work here. You are doing a great job. Jazakallah khair, Shak Hashmi. May Allah reward you, and thank you very much for a nice, beautiful feedback. The Lord. Okay, I think the Lord is. Let me just get rid of the Lord. Yeah, so. Okay, so going on timer. Is evil considered an illness? Yes, it's considered illness, spiritual illness. I need to have I don't know what he's saying. Okay, I think he's another okay. You burned frankincense before in your house? Yes. Assalamu alaikum, Hamida Dimi. If I give my Muslim brother food if he needs, does that count as good deed? Yes. Alhamdulillah. Everything good you do is count as good deed. SMB, why did Allah only spoke to Moses? I don't understand. Why did Allah only spoke to Moses? I mean, he didn't just only speak to Moses. Hamida, is it haram for a woman to trim off her hair? No, it's not haram. And Patel, if I have read or heard sajda ayahs of the Quran in the past and I don't know exactly how much sajda I need to do, what do I do? You don't have to do them. If impurity is dried up in any place, can I still pray salat? If impurity is dried up in any place, you got to be more clear about your question. I don't know what you're saying. If impurity is dried up in any place, like what do you mean? Like on the ground, on your clothes, on your body? You got to be more clear in the question. It mentions in Surah Nur who women should cover up in front of. Okay. In Salah, count as good. Is Salah? Yes, count as good deeds. If any kind of rude thoughts and imagination comes to mind during Salah, is it broken? No, not broken. What about Kashf? What's the question, Brother Yusuf Patel? Is it permissible to read Quran on phone app without wudu? For example, if one is on train without wudu, and you want to recap, revise. There's a difference of opinion of scholars. Some scholars say yes. I would say, look, yes, you can read it. As long as try not to touch the ayats with your hand. Is it permissible to reduce or enlarge some parts of the body if it's for medical purposes? Yes, like if it's for medical sort of defect a person has. Maybe, for example, like, someone has a large nose and they want to reduce it, etc. Or they have short limbs and they want to stretch them slightly. Musab Hassan, Imam Ghazali mentions in Al-Iqtisad fil I'tiqad that it is an obligation to appoint an Imam Khalif. Is therefore obligation for us to have a Khalif today? I'll have to check that. I can't remember reading that. I'll have to check that. So the issue regarding a Khalif basically is that we want to have a government that is supporting Muslims, making conducive for Muslims to be able to worship Allah in the government, in the society. That's what we want. And Khalifs, technically Khalifs have not existed after the time of Ali radiallahu anhu. After that, the Prophet ﷺ said that there will be monarchy, right? So it's technically monarchies that have been running. So even though they've been calling themselves Khalifs, over the years they've been calling themselves Khalifs and kings and sultans and emperors. Yeah, they've been giving themselves many names. But there should be some sort of governance that is conducive to the Muslims. Yeah, definitely, and more preferably a Muslim one. Is it permissible to continuously wipe my nose in salah because I have a cold? Does this break my salat? No, it does not break your salat. If there's no hafiz during Taraweeh, can another person lead it by looking at the Quran? According to some madhabs, yes. But reading the whole Quran in salat is not necessary. You don't have to read. You can read surahs that it's fine. And I think a lot of people, it's best for them that they do that, especially in the winters, in the summer Taraweehs. Loida Echi Pare. Okay, I probably said the name wrong. If I'm not finishing my working contract to my employer, is it okay, or is that a sin? My reason to not come back to my work because my husband doesn't want me to leave again because of my job abroad. If you break your contract, then you'd have to obviously face the consequences of breach of contract, which might be you lose your job or you don't get paid, etc. But if you have a valid reason that you can't fulfill your contract, then you won't be sinful. Can I sell coins for more than their monetary value, and would selling to a different currency be considered a loophole? Can I sell coins? It depends what kind of coins you're talking about. If you're selling the same coins in the same currency, then no, it's not permissible. And if it's in different currency, it's totally fine. What's the ruling on looking at the face and hands of a non-mahram woman whose aura is covered properly and whose aura, e.g. hair, isn't covered? See, this is a tricky one, because this is like a problematic issue in the West today, because a lot of women, they don't cover up their hair, especially on media, etc. like that. So technically, if you look at the fiqh, you're not supposed to look at an aura of a woman, and you should avoid it. But if it's difficult to avoid, like there's something on TV or something in public, or you're working with a client has that and you can't, then there would be haraj, the difficulty in a person having to not look at them. So then there'd be scope for it, permissibility in that sense. Yeah, but if a person feels lust, then they absolutely should not look. What's the ruling on sparring when training boxing? Sparring is allowed. Yeah. We try to avoid hitting the face. How authentic is Fazail A'mal and the hadith in the book? Again, this idea of authentic, Brother Anwar Patel, it requires studying the science of usul hadith. Inshallah, I'm going to do a whole series on usul hadith. But Fazail A'mal is a very good book. I would recommend everyone to read this book. And this idea of authentic, I think anyone who hasn't studied usul hadith, I think they shouldn't be using this term authentic, because we don't want it's not necessarily authentic hadith. We want hadith which are practicable. So hadith that are practicable is what we want. And this term authentic, it's a very misleading term. So yeah, all the hadith in Fazail A'mal are considered to be practicable. Assalamu alaikum, Hinna Mendi. Is celebrating birthdays haram? No, it's not haram. Why only jokes, Mufti Saab? Imran Khan is the best cricketer ever. MashaAllah. I will phone Imran Khan and tell him, MashaAllah, what you said. Anwar Patel, you mentioned about doing the khidmat of deen as one of your goals in the future. What motivates you and why do you want to do khidmat? I mean, what motivates me more than seeing people, scholars of the past and my teachers doing it, alhamdulillah. Yeah, so scholars, my teachers, alhamdulillah, did lots of khidmat of deen and lots of khidmat of deen basically means you do anything which ultimately pleases Allah. It could be helping the homeless, it could be helping your neighbors, it could be sweeping, the streets for someone, it could be anything. But I specifically intended like teaching the deen. Roly polies, yeah. Muhammad Junaid, where are you based? Do you hold classes in person? I'm based in Birmingham, As-Sufa Institute. So if you Google it, As-Sufa Institute, I'm there. I hold classes, but it's official classes part of As-Sufa Institute. I don't hold classes in person, no. What's the ruling on getting a physical book album made with pictures from one wedding? Does this fall under the ruling of tasweer? Yeah, so for example, like this issue of images. So this is a topic I've talked about before. The ruling of images is technically making an image is impermissible in Islam because it's something which was worshipped in the past. Now in the future, like now, people don't draw images to be worshipped. That's why some scholars say that they are not impermissible unless they are made for the purpose of worship. And if they're for educational purposes or if they're just for like memories of family members, as long as they're not revered, as long as they're not hung on the wall and revered in a way where you honor them, then there's scope for it, permissibility. Okay, seen book in store. Are you familiar with Sheikh Musa al-Iraqi from Madrasa ibn Abbas, Conversation Arabiya? Yeah, I've heard of him. I've never met him, but I've heard of him. When I was there in Pakistan, he was there in Pakistan, but I didn't get a chance to meet him. Yeah, but I heard it. I've seen his book. It's a very good book. Yeah. Just make dua. Don't make me bold. Yeah, may Allah. I mean, I'm not really fussed whether I become bold or not, but I like hair. I like having hair on my head. Keeps my head warm, alhamdulillah. How do we stop ourselves from committing sins? It's very hard. It depends on it. Just environment, change your company, stay with good company. How do we bring ikhlas and sincerity in actions? Because sometimes the intentions change and we end up showing off. Yeah, that's going to happen to everyone. Yeah, sincerity is never going to be something standard in your life. It's always going to fluctuate. Just try to do as best as you can. Try to do small things. Yeah, try to do more things hidden from people. Good things, obviously. Zubair Ahmad, mashallah. Okay, that was the best question, yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Sharif, mashallah. Okay, Sharif. Other mazhab be traced back to a particular Sahabi. Sahaba, yeah. Particular Sahaba, yeah, definitely. Especially the Hanafi and the Maliki madhab are two madhabs that can be traced back to individual Sahaba. The ones that came after them are extensions of Hanafi and Maliki and other madhabs. I don't know if you guys have been watching that crash course, the 3 series I've done, 3 episodes crash course of the history of madhabs. Well, inshallah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to do an evolution of fiqh one, inshallah. A very detailed, long one. So that's going to mention about the history of madhabs in more detail. Fahimuddin sounds fine, alhamdulillah. FIFA, they say that Hanafi madhab goes back to Ibn Mas'ud, whereas Maliki madhab goes back to Ibn Umar. I mean, that's exaggeration, that is. Not everything in the Hanafi madhab goes back to Ibn Mas'ud. It's just like, it's very common because Ibn Mas'ud was in fact, he goes back to Umar radiallahu anhu, he goes back to Ammar bin Yasir, he goes back to Musa al-Ash'ari and others as well. A lot of exorcists say that it can be the water washed off the limbs of your family members too, not necessarily the one who gave you nazar. Okay, I didn't know that. Sharif will, okay, salam, the qalb, heart, 2 entities, 1. Okay, FIFA, I heard that Indo-Pak Shalwar Kameez is more closer to the Sunnah compared to the Arab Jubba. Allah knows best. I don't think so. Allah knows best. Yeah. I mean, see, the Prophet ﷺ, the Jubbas he used to wear were all imported. He had nothing that was naturally like made in and around Makkah and Medina. They were all from outside. He had Yemeni Jubba, he had a Byzantine Jubba even that came from Byzantine. So when people kind of go on about this kind of, because the Prophet generally used to wear a shawl around his chest, like like ihram. He basically kind of wore the ihram gi a lot. That was a common dress of his. So ihram is probably the closest, I would say. But I mean, I mentioned this before, clothing being close to the sunnah. This term sunnah, I've mentioned it as well previously, that clothing, there is no such thing as a sunnah design. Yeah, I mean, clothing that was worn by Arabs in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, because the Prophet ﷺ did not wear a totally different clothing from all of the Arabs. Remember that. He wore the same clothing. He was brought up amongst the Arabs, so he wore their clothing. Okay, why now? Jazakallah khair for your makeup, your answer. I think we need to have no makeup artists on YouTube for our younger sisters. Show them you can look beautiful without makeup. Definitely. Is wearing a topi a sunnah, or is it a sunnah ada? Sunnah ada. Modest Muslim YouTubes are making modesty immodest. Is there more closer to sunnah to wear jubba, or is it sunnah dress up? Yeah, I would say people of the time. But generally, the sunnah is basically covering your aura, yeah, and making sure that the clothing is not too tight and too extravagant. That would be sunnah. Would you consider a series on imageries of the Quran, tasweer? I mean, yeah, that would be a good one, tasweer, because there's lots of aspects of tasweer, and it's difficult to kind of to explain it to an English audience who, in the language, they're not really familiar with tasweer, unless you really love English poetry, or it's a very one of those kind of topics. Okay, how far, assalamu alaikum, off in degrees can the qibla be of, say, like having a building a masjid in order to maximize the space for the salary rakes? Yeah, so according to Hanafis, you can have it like 45 degrees on either side, so you have like a 90 degree sort of like leeway. Okay, how do you feel about the Marines? I don't know how I feel about the Marines. Like, what do I feel about the Marines? Marines as in army? Zahir Akhtar, assalamu alaikum. Mufti, in the Quran, when the sajda sign comes, what person should. So, in the Quran, if the sajda sign comes, it comes about 14 or 15 times. Then basically what you do, when you read that, when you have wudu, just do sajda on the ground. So you just like, if you're sitting down, you say Allahu Akbar, do sajda on the ground, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Allahu Akbar. That's it. That's all you do. So Allahu Akbar, Subhana Rabbil A'la 3 times, and then Allahu Akbar, your head up. That's all you do. Do you think a male wearing earring is acting gay? Allah knows best. I am struggling with verb conjugations in sentences. Any resources to help? Yes, check out my Understanding Sarf series. It's on my YouTube channel. The media is owned by oligarchs, and its viewpoint is monopolized to the right wing. I don't know what you're talking about, sorry. Which are the most important diwan poetry for those who want to appreciate Quran or purpose of understanding medieval Arab culture? I would say, if you want to understand, you want to read read Mutanabbi. Mutanabbi is a very good, like a gateway kind of, you can say, a poetry, gateway to poetry. Mutanabbi is very, very good for that. Study the Mutanabbi. When praying witr before saying dua qunut, do you raise your hands and say Allahu Akbar? Yes. Can you resume the lessons of Quduri? Yes, inshallah. I'm just thinking at the moment where I should resume it from. Shall I continue from Salat, or shall I start Buyut? That's the only thing at the moment I'm kind of in two minds about. Okay, Sister Angela, I'm sorry if my picture is offensive. I have not found where it's wrong where Allah's command to cover all the time, but I believe to wear when praying covering. No problem. Okay, so is it best not to hang photos of family members on walls? Yes, it's best not to. It's best to avoid it. I didn't like the format of the surf videos, actually. Okay, you didn't like it. Interesting. And what? Interesting. And what was exactly? If you can let me know, maybe in future videos I can adjust them. Because I've always been asking people about feedback. So yeah, if you can let me know. I don't know anyone else on YouTube that's doing it, really. How strict should maktabs be regarding haircuts? Should they be lenient on? Yes, I think they should be lenient. I think maktabs make themselves into khalifas too much. Any other alternatives? I don't really know any other alternatives online. Okay, I think we've finished now. Any particular sharh for Mutanabbi poetry you recommend? Yeah, there's actually a website which I regularly use, which is called Wahatul Mutanabbi. Wahatul Mutanabbi. So if you type that in Arabic in Google, Wahatul Mutanabbi, Waw Alif Hata Al Mutanabbi, and it's got a website and it's got all these commentaries that come up. I'll use that. And it's got like loads. It's like Ma'arris, it's got Wahidis, it's got Ukbaris, it's got Barquqis, it's sometimes got Ibn Sidas. Can you do a full series on Taharat for men, shaving part, private parts, Istinja, Istibra, Madhi, Mani? Yeah, so if you check my YouTube channel, if you check Quduri series, I've mentioned these things in there. Okay. Is it proper to be foot to foot in prayer? It's not necessary, but it's good to be aligned, as in straight, making sure the rows are straight. So they don't have to be foot to foot. I would say shoulder to shoulder is more important. You are tired, bro. It's been a long day live stream. Yeah, I've been tired. Alhamdulillah. Today had a bit of a long day. So yeah, feeling a bit tired. So that's why if you guys have been watching me today, you probably thought I was half dead. Okay, should Arabic be taught in a maktab? If so, yes, I think it should be. And I've actually got one of my close friends who's actually making a syllabus. He's done his master's degree and now he's working on a syllabus which is going to be piloted soon in Birmingham, and then hopefully it's going to be promoted in other maktabs. Yeah, so watch out for that, inshallah. I will try to rewatch it and comment from it. Jazakallah khair. Excellent, thank you very much. Is eating on the floor a sunnah ada? Yes, sunnah ada. Would you recommend one to study English poetry on side of studies of Arabic poetry? To become more proficient in English, yes, definitely, and to understand some subtleties in language, I would definitely recommend that. Okay, so Jazakallah khair, guys. Thank you very much for watching this again. MashaAllah, it's been again 2 hours. Time flies so quick, I don't know. Okay, Asufa should do a winter conference where ulama can speak. Yeah, definitely, I think might be a good idea. I don't think Asufa have anything planned this winter. Should Arabic be taught from the age of 5? I don't know. Allah knows best. I don't have any children, so I don't know when children should be taught Arabic. But maybe if anyone has children and they're teaching them Arabic, you can let us know. Yeah, when should children be taught Arabic? Like I know some places they teach Arabic, at nursery level. Yeah, so it could be 5, could be 7, could be 10. Any good channels for Arabic you know of? Are you saying like in English? Channels that are in English. There's also like these Arabic cartoon ones that are very good. Yeah, so if you just Google, if you YouTube in Arabic cartoons, most of them are quite good. I don't really kind of watch them, these Arabic too much on learning Arabic online. أنا طالب ومشكل عربي. Yeah, I would suggest watching the cartoons. There's lots of cartoons and they have like Arabic at the bottom. There used to be this guy called Sheikh Munaf. I don't know if you guys remember him. If you go on and you type in Sheikh Munaf in Google and YouTube, you'll probably come across some of his series. Should Alim classes have lessons conducted in Arabic? I think some of them should, yes, definitely.
Here's what
Oh, look at that. I don't know, my Google just came on. Maybe Google has been listening to me all the time. So, should Alim classes lessons conducted in Arabic? Some of them should be, I think, definitely. Is there a web app for women to chat with other women to learn Arabic? I'm not sure if there is. There probably is, definitely. There must be. Opinions on cartoons for kids or Islamic cartoons? Yeah, as long as the cartoons don't have anything that's immoral in them, then I think they're fine. Okay, yes, in English. I'm not sure. Check out Sheikh Munaf. So check in YouTube, Sheikh Munaf. Okay, guys, I think you guys are out of questions. You guys are exhausted, and I'm exhausted as well. Can you do? Is this another question you guys are asking, or the same one? How will Dajjal travel with so much speed? I mean, he's not going to travel with speed. I don't know where people get that from. Yeah, I mean, like nowadays, how do things travel with speed? Media, through social media, through technology. So, Jazakallah khair, guys. Thank you very much for watching. MashaAllah. Give the likes. If you haven't liked this video, give it a likes, guys. Share and spread it. And I don't know, I mean, most of you guys were saying in the poll that you guys would like the question answers to be about 9:30 on the weekends, yeah? So yeah, I'm going to try to do it at that time then. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So anyway, like I asked before, is there anyone new here? Anyone new this time have we got on the question answers? If you don't want to put your if you don't want to answer on the chat bar, you can send it to Curious Cat, inshallah. Ya Allah. Okay, Mufti Sahab, rest. Okay, you're very tired. Jazakallah khair. I am going to rest, inshallah. How did you balance your Arabic studies with other important studies in English? I actually finished college, then I went to study abroad for 9 years. Yeah, so I studied in Pakistan for 9 years. So I kind of focused purely on my Arabic. Alright, so anyway, Jazakumullah khair, guys. New, look, 25 is new, mashallah. Zainur is new, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Welcome, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome to this channel. Welcome, just like, you know, when you go to these Arab countries, they say to you, welcome, 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 my brother, welcome to my country. So Jazakallah khair, guys, and remember your du'as, and let me know what you guys think of that series, the Fox, you know, the story series, where I read a story in Arabic, and whether you think I should explain it in English or whether you think I should explain it in Arabic, because I'm thinking of making some more of those. Shukran ya Ustad, you're welcome. Were your studies a bit mechanical? Mechanical, what does that mean, mechanical? As in, I don't understand mechanical. I mean, my studies mechanical, like it was Arabic studies, Arabic Islamic studies. So Jazakallah khair, guys, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much. Remember your du'as. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.